Good afternoon, Martha.
Sorry about the dreary rain, but we can have sunshine in here.
Yay. Yeah.
Yay! Oh, good, everybody's here. We're just going to be one big happy family. And that song was picked for a special reason because we're going to talk about becoming whole tonight. So just glad you're here and know that it's possible because you already are, and we'll tell you all about it. So if anybody is all ready to think of us working, we're going to have John come in and help you with a past life because everybody has some karma to clean up to get whole. So he's going to be first. He'll be with you in a minute.
Thank you, Martha.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. As usual, we are recording this session.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully it will be helpful for many people. And we're glad to have everybody here today. I recognize that you are all returners and glad to have you back.
We're glad to be here.
So glad to see you again, Sonny.
Thank you, John. Good to hear from you.
And glad to see you, Cowboy. You've managed to have quite a trip, it sounds like.
Yeah, we've been adventuring.
You certainly have. Well, you're going to just relax this afternoon, right?
Yes, we will, John.
Okay. And Mac, thank you for all your help.
I'm glad to do it, John.
We're glad that you're still perking around, and I know you're having surgeries, and you know all of this is just part of cleaning all this up so you can be that whole person that you truly were when you first came to Earth. So it's just part of the process, Mac.
That would be great, John. Before we go too far, I have a question that both Marilyn and I would wonder if you might be able to answer for us.
I'd be glad to.
Yesterday, I was seeing bright flashes during the daytime, and then last night, Marilyn and I were watching television, and we both saw this bright white flash. Can you tell us what's going on?
I'd be glad to. Your third eyes are opening extensively at this point, and you're seeing spirit more than you've ever seen it before. And you actually saw spiritual energy, and some people might call it electricity, but as you become more into the spirit world and you can see energy, and we were just trying to let you know that your awareness has become much more available to you than you realized, and the veil for you the veil's lifting considerably, and it was just to help you recognize that you're more in tune with the spirits and that energy than you realized.
Thank you, John.
You are so welcome. And glad to have you here, Don.
Thank you.
And Aki, you had a wonderful trip too.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you are back to share with your wonderful healing that happened, and that's what we're all about here. And we're glad that you could return and join us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming. And what I thought we might do is to help look a little bit at what's going on with people so they can finally heal up a little bit more of their past karma that is still bleeding into today. And if you have a situation that you're trying to resolve and it's being difficult, now is a good time to maybe mention that experience if it's a health problem or a difficulty that you're trying to resolve, and we can maybe get to understanding it a little better today. So if someone wants to go first, you can speak up, or else I'll just kind of pick on you.
Somebody must have a problem.
Pick on us.
All right. Well, Sunny.
Yep, start with me.
I'll start with you, okay?
Pick on me, please.
We're very proud of you on this side. We want you to know that.
Thank you.
Your enthusiasm for learning and growing is very exciting to us. You have an open mind, and you're very eager, and you're excited about what you're learning, and you put it into your life and apply it, and there's still a little bit of one life that's bleeding through for you that is actually starting to simmer down some, but we thought I could explain it to you a little bit more so you know where it comes from. In a past life, you had a very domineering mother. This was about the early, let's see. Oh, this was in the middle 1800s, as the West was starting to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
And she married a man. In those days, women especially, needed protection if they were living in the Midwest and moving westward. And so she married a man because that was the culture and times of protecting herself. And definitely had a family of children to help support the homestead and the planting and the farm and all that went with that. The man she married turned out to be a rather mean, you have terms for it today like SOB, and he was not very kindly to his children. In fact, he would entice you to do things, and then his rage would be the reward. And you learned very quickly as a young girl, in that situation, he was a man. And therefore, you did not trust men. And so it was like he would have you do little projects around the place, and then you would get in trouble. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't done right, it wasn't done yesterday. Something was missing, he always had an excuse to project his rage onto you, and so you just couldn't do anything to please him, and you would try to get away from this, and of course you would have to end up being back home to eat or whatever, and you would get more punishment. And so you have a ingrained little child, a little girl inside of you that button still gets pushed now and then, where you don't trust men and you want to get away from the situation. Does that ring a bell?
Oh yeah. Few of them.
And so it's not that you're doing that as much today. We notice that you've made some great growth in this lifetime, and that's what this lifetime was really had a great deal to do with, is learning not to put yourself in those situations. And what we've noticed is that you've made great progress in that. Sonny, we want to commend you for putting yourself in situations which are actually not that damaging as they were, and you're not recreating it like you did at this point in your life. But you still have had moments, even though you're not surrounded by that type of personality, where your little girl comes out and she feels it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we just want to reassure you that, just to remind that little girl that she's safe and she's okay today, and that was history, and that you love her very much, and you are a mature adult today and can take care of her. She doesn't have to be afraid. That you are willing and able as a mature adult today to get up and leave any situation that is not in her best interest.
Okay.
She needs that reassurance.
Okay.
She needs to know that it's safe. And when she feels safe, then she will simmer down, and she just needs some little cheering up and support and talking to, and knowing that not only have you been doing that with your family in this current life, but your family in your past life, she needs to know that too.
Okay.
That do you see the bleed through for what's going on with your children now? Especially your youngest?
Yeah, a little bit. Do you have any insight with that as far as with Molly?
Well, Molly has partly put herself there to learn the lessons that you needed to learn. You realize some of these traits are hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
And so when a person picks a family, it's because the vibrations are the right. We're going to talk more about that with Saint Germain, but the vibrations were right for her to learn her lessons.
Okay.
So your lesson is to support her through it, so she doesn't have to go through as much as you have to. She can come out of it quicker and faster, because you're not the mother you had in that past life.
Okay.
She's still having to heal the emotional aspect of it, but it will heal. So do not be concerned about her not coming through this well. She will be able to come out on the other end. It's already scripted, but of course the emotional aspects are not always fun to experience. But that's part of her energy releasing also. So just say you're doing the best you can right now. You're taking care of things as they need to be taken care of. I see that it's going to fall into place very well.
Okay.
I see that you are doing very good footwork. You are taking care of situations in a very rational way. And what's happening, which was mentioned earlier, I hang around Marilyn on the days I'm coming in, and what was mentioned earlier was cause and effect, and you are changing. You are in the process of changing, being at effect to being in cause, and when you're in cause, it will create a new and better ending.
Okay.
So you are doing the right things to make that happen.
Great.
And we are so proud of that you're doing what it takes to be done to heal it and resolve it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our cowboy.
Yes.
You have some situations that still have emotionally in your field, emotional energy field, that have not totally been resolved, and it's some bleed through from a past life when you were in living in China. You were a Chinese man, and in the culture in those days, this was hundreds of years ago, girl children were not considered valuable in the family. The boy children were the honored children. You know, that the girls were even way back put out on the mountaintops to be taken away by the birds, etc., because they were not valued as being important as a human being in those days. And the boy children carried on the family traditions. And so because of that cultural viewpoint, young women can easily irritate you. Is that right?
It's very possible, yes.
And I know you've had some situations where that has caused crisis and turmoil in your life. And some of that is from this history that is still being resolved, and you have handled it much better. Like Sunny, you are taking steps in healing that and forgiving and being more compassionate and understanding, and putting situations into situations that are more easily to be handled, you might say, to deal with.
Yes.
You still need to work on the energy part, the negative feelings that go with that. The emotional part being right in your face isn't there like it was at one point, but you still have some energy to resolve in forgiving those people to play that part in your life, to bring that energy up so that you could send compassion and forgiveness. And then it can just be history. And the emotional part can just fade off. Otherwise, you will still connect and attract that in other ways, new ways. Does that make sense to you?
It does, John. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Do we have another person interested in their past?
John, I have a question, if you wouldn't mind, about a situation in the present.
That's fine too.
It's something I've been a little curious about. Probably for about the last 4 years, I've been involved with working in a very close-knit group of what I consider to be highly evolved practitioners. And we have worked together on a variety of projects that I was always very proud to be a part of.